days you work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday,
Saturday with Renee.
Yes, welcome back, everybody, to Black Liberation Media and episode 149 of uninterrupted consecutive episodes of Saturdays with Renee, featuring Renee Johnston. I'm Jared Ball. Please like, share, subscribe, support the Patreon, which the code to which is now up in the corner. Go ahead and QR yourself over there, even to join for free, just as a backup. And with that, Saturday, Renee. Saturday.
Listen, people don't even understand that I've been dancing to our intro song for 3 years, but so like Mtume's waiting, and he was also chair dancing. I can see him like doing the jam. So it's crazy. Like 149 is crazy. That we're at 150 next week is equally crazy. I have to make sure that I resend you the link because I'm sure you missed that email when I sent it for people to, sign up to attend live next week. Hopefully you still...
I did miss it.
It's all good. This is why you have me to like resend stuff and to remind you, make sure you get your train ticket. What time do I need to pick you up? And like all the things. Try to coordinate, and Mtume was supposed to come. Try to coordinate to see if he's still gonna get it. It worked out the last time because I picked everybody up at one time. It was beauteous. It worked out.
It was crazy how you orchestrated everything, and then you come. It's like in my memory, you come swooping around on only half the car, like on two wheels around the corner with everybody. It's like,
Oh, listen.
Get in, fool.
Let's roll. Let's roll. Listen. So it was, so I really, every now and again, we have this conversation about like how randomly this all started and how it was me with my rambling emails that initially Jared ignored until he realized that like I was right about Dr. West and like all these things that, ended with you all getting us every Saturday for 149 weeks, even if we had to pre-record to make sure that you get a new show. Like, who knew?
And which we are today, pre-recording today, and it is my fault. So today we are not live, and but that was my doing, and I appreciate it. But usually, though the standard is already pretty elevated, when we do pre-record, we somehow leave folks with something even slightly up.
I mean, in theory, because even when we pre-record, it's new information. So even when folks come on a Saturday and it's like a pre-record, it's not like it's not a revisit of an old pre-recorded episode. It's like a new pre-recorded episode. So we've really done 149 Saturdays. Next week when we're live, it'll be 150 Saturdays of new information, which is crazy. It really is crazy when you think about it. It's crazy, but it's been a good ride, man. I still to this day appreciate that you decided you were going to do this and that you were like, I'm down, let's roll, and we rolled with it.
I appreciate it because it was clear that whenever I was watching you, be interviewed or, wherever I was seeing you pop up, it made sense. And then it is kind of cheating in a way to say like well, if I want to hear somebody on a regular basis, let me just team up with them. And then it kind of just has to happen. It's kind of like tilting the scales a little bit. They'll put the finger on the, the market. They're like, eh. Just a little bit, just a little bit, But so no, it's been dope. And yes, to the audience, the undefeated chat, you are all welcome.
So we got a lot today, and I decided to merge these two things mostly because my day was getting totally out of control, and I was like, I cannot do another 2-hour stint. So for folks who don't, today is actually Thursday. You're watching this on Saturday, but this morning I was on with Jay with Millennials because we did a re-listen to an interview that he did with Johanna Fernandez, Presente, as Hiram taught me to do. And his interview about her book on the Young Lords. And so we listened to that. Hiram jumped on. I jumped off of that and got on with Yuri. Shout out to Yuri 1+1, who loves Jared. I love how much Yuri loves Jared. It tickles. I just love it. So we did a whole conversation because today is, in fact, Jamaican Independence Day, even though it's not actually independent because the Constitution they signed continued the British monarch, but we'll leave that there. We had that whole conversation. And so with all of this happening, we've had Zora on now. He's like, Zora's no longer going to be the new guest, right? Like, once you're on more than 2 or 3 times, you're just part of
Zora has to do the dishes and
help clean up,
help. You know what I'm saying? It's get your own plate, everything. It's a whole.
So I don't know. Is there? So wait, before we bring them on, just some basic here's something that we need people to know. So I put in the last newsletter, so folks who did not read the newsletter, you're going to miss your opportunity to participate in this process. We did a poll during the last show about moving the show up to 10 o'clock. And then I added a poll to the newsletter about moving the show up to 10 o'clock. And the majority vote was people will still watch if we start at 10, which I have to say makes my life a lot easier because kickoff is 1 and I be racing. And so now I don't have to race, right?
Let's keep it real.
Do the things. And now that your baby girl is off, and we're going to try not to make Jared cry because he's about to be an empty nester. So a 10 a.m. start actually works really well for life.
Yeah, let's get his ear because then I could get back to bed earlier.
Right.
My depressive state. Let's just get it over with.
God damn it. As of episode 150, we will be starting at 10. This includes the live that we're going to do next week for our 150th / my
So this is the
birthday.
Last 11 o'clock
This
start.
Is the last 11 o'clock start that y'all get. So reset your alarms, whatever you have to do on Saturdays so that you can, join the party. And
in fact, I'm resetting my calendar too.
Reset it.
While you bull crapping. While you messing around. Because
we got the new start time. We're gonna move to
all future events. Yep.
All future events.
That's how it works.
So I'm fired up though. I'm excited.
All right.
I'm excited. So I wanted to make sure I did that. And I'll make sure that we put the link for people to RSVP to attend. There's a little bit of a labor struggle happening at Express Newark. So if folks could actually really, if people can donate, because we want to make sure that the folks who come in to help as they're in the midst of this labor struggle get, appropriately compensated for their time. So folks can make sure that if you come, give a little. If you can't come, but you watch every Saturday and you want to support, give a little, and it'll help us make sure that the folks who are in the middle of this labor dispute that's happening over there, make sure we properly take care of our people. So I'll make sure that you get the link so we can drop it in the chat. I hope folks can show up. celebrate my 50th with me, which I'm very excited to be able to say I'm 50. And so when I cuss people out and say I'm 50, I don't need to listen to your bullshit no more. It's actual. It's not like I'm almost 50, like I'm 50 now. Fuck you. And Mama Renee is going to be in the house.
That's
So
crazy.
if you come out to the live 150 live 50th birthday, you get to meet my mama. So I feel like that's worth anything.
So many, I mean, just so many reasons to have, been in support of this great show and the ride we're on. So,
Definitely.
and to show up next week.
That's it.
All
right. So we don't have to
So
delay anymore, I don't think.
All right, everybody, like, share, subscribe, and do all the things as we welcome our guests back to the platform. Everybody's doing the dishes, getting their own plate. It's Mtume. It's Zora. City boy Zora. Excuse me. Welcome back, everybody.
That's why they had us in the back so long. You know what I'm saying? There was actually secretly monitoring. It was like, that shit ain't clean enough, bro. I see spots.
We was looking at you like, what you waiting for?
Oh man,
walk in.
Oh, I love it. And I also, by the way, the habitual line stepper, when I realized that was actually the name of I was like, oh, this is the best. So just because every now and again we do have a new person who doesn't know all the family, Mtume, why don't you go first? Because you're probably the least likely that people aren't familiar with. And then Zora, you can take over after Mtume and just do a quick who you are, why we're here, and then we'll talk about what we're doing today.
Mtume Gant, filmmaker, talker of dialectics and art and stuff like that. Politics, and fam of folks here. So that's how I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Can y'all hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, Zora Murff, artist and professor. I teach photography at the University of Oregon. And, my work, I guess in the most broad terms, it's, just thinking about imperialism and different articulations and, trying to figure out what I can make to reveal the truths behind the experiences we have.
So we have been having an ongoing conversation with Zora about this if Emmett Till lived thing that's happening that I still can't wrap my head around it fully. While this is happening, we're also having what has now become like a years long text chat with Mtume and Geechee about how crazy all this shit is that's happening. And so we recently started talking about the new Black Panther. And that the ADOS FBA people are mad because the new Black Panther is from the UK and this whole thing. And it got me to thinking about this absurd holding on to American, US, imperialist, colonial structures. And how it feels sometimes like Black people will jump on any opportunity to be like, we did that was us. And I'm like, well, what are we excited? I don't know what we're excited about right now. And I'm still trying to understand what's going on. So although it may feel like there's a real gap between this if Emmett Till lived monstrosity that's happening and the new Black Panther movie, I feel like there's actually not, because at the core of it, you still have this idea of representation within a colonized space that supports imperialism for which the people who are colonized feel like they have some like attachment and reason to be excited about being colonized. And I can't wrap my head around like why we're still here and how these things happen. But I just felt like we could combine these conversations, which would also allow me to like eat at a reasonable time today versus doing, 4 things in a row. But I don't know where we should start. Jared, did you have a thought on like if we should start in a specific place or what?
No, I just co-signed the attempt we're making to draw the very, I think, appropriate parallel. And maybe just chronologically, we could start with the Emmett Till piece of this and go from there. I don't know if that but all I've been thinking these last few days is I just have this gross, almost AI generated image in my head of commercials where what's her name, the new Republican MAGA Marilyn Monroe, what's her name, the I Have Good Genes woman,
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney, where a series of commercials like that are replaced with some AI generated version of Emmett Till, where he's saying, if I had lived, I would be wearing this. If I had lived, I'd be driving this. If I had lived, I'd be going to see this, and then having somebody get some award, some marketing award, like, man, marketer of the year, brand of the year, Emmett Till for Lee Jeans, and or something like that, and then to have a bunch of, and it would be like Black creatives, like it would be the Black marketing firm that won the account proudly. And then we would all be expected to be like, hell yeah, that was Black marketed. That's Black excellence. Black. Anyway, it's just been it's been this disturbing. So I'm looking forward to this discussion, excising that for me, and just selfishly letting this be a cathartic experience. But anyway, so that's where I would at least like to start, so I could start to get this exorcist begun.
That sounds good. So Zora, if you could, for the people, and we discussed this briefly because this all started the last time you were on, but if you could talk to the people about this thing and how we got here and how you, all the things, whatever you want to say about it, so that we have some basis, and then you can talk about like kind of how this has morphed into an opportunity for you to point out like how absurd this whole thing is, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that it was really like a good idea to merge these conversations, because I think it's doing together, they really do the work of pointing to how the petty bourgeoisie as a class, how we're disciplined and conditioned to create things to dupe other people, to buy the lie. And so there's just two things that I want to, like, I turned to Samantha Yousef's paper, and was thinking about this idea of ideological containment. I guess like the mechanisms, right? Narratives, aesthetics, like how those things become manipulated to do the influencing, right? And then there's this essay by Alan Sekula called Dismantling Modernism, Reinventing Documentary, Notes on the Politics of Representation. And so he opened the opening paragraph. He writes, Suppose we regard art as a mode of human communication, as a discourse anchored in concrete social relations, rather than as a mystified, vaporous, and ahistorical realm of purely affective expression and experience. Art, like speech, is both symbolic exchange and material practice, involving the production of both meaning and physical presence. Meaning, as an understanding of that presence, emerges from an interpretive act. Interpretation is ideologically constrained. Our readings of past culture are subject to the covert demands of the historical present. Mystified interpretation universalizes the act of reading, lifting it above history. And so I feel like both cases, and maybe, like, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel both cases deal with this mystified interpretation. This way that as artists, we're trained to think about art as this quote unquote very special thing that stands apart from everything else, right? And because of that, we get to, sort of believe in it in different sort of ways. And even things that I, as an artist, am guilty of, right? Like, and the most basic way is just thinking that what you make is somehow going to change the world, right? And then, of course, when we get to deeper into how, Dr. Lewis is talking about the exhibition, again, it sort of reveals this idea, like this mystified interpretation, this sort of removal of an actual history, of actual material things into this realm of like dreaming and speculation for the purposes of perpetuating the lie of democracy, right? And that she positions it within American democracy a lot, and American identity a lot, right? So, just to recap on the situation itself, back in January, I get an email that's asking for imagery production rights in the exhibition catalog for the show. This work that I made from a project titled At No Point in Between was purchased by the museum, years back for a different show about gun violence in America. A part of that work is I appropriated images of police violence, specifically the police murders of Laquan McDonald, and then the police murder of Walter Scott. And so one of the works that they wanted to put into the Emmett Till show, alongside like some portraits and some landscapes from North Omaha, where I was making the work, they wanted to put in that screen capture of Walter Scott. And so, and I write about this in the essay, but like, any artist, like any good artist, I agree. And it's because I'm making that decision from a space of individualism, right? I'm thinking about, I just moved to Oregon and took on this new professorship. So, I'm in the mode of having to prove that their investment was a good investment, right? So this is, a really big exhibition, internationally known museum, internationally known, guest curator, professor at Harvard, right? So all of those things are making me think about how I benefit. And so I'd say yes, and I agree, and I send back the permissions. But it stays on my mind, and it's the if Emmett Till lived is the thing. And so, it stays on my mind. I talk with some, friends about it, and everybody's reaction is similar. Like, but he didn't live though. Like, that's what the first thing that everyone I share it with said. And so, that's sentiment sticking in my head. Next day I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm still thinking about it, struggle with it. Like, why is it making you feel this way, right? And so, I just come to the conclusion that I just don't agree with the premise. I don't think that it's doing the things that she's positioning it as doing. And then I see the sort of fallout that comes after, right? Where all these, big names get to celebrate this moment, get to commemorate this moment with the cosign of the family members, and, you know, they benefit. The killing that is still happening, completely overshadowed, right? And so, you know, I'm like, I want to take that back. I don't want to be in the book. And so I was just like, I don't want to be in the book. And then I didn't say anything about the show because the museum owns the work. And so, you know, like, they can do what they want with it. I can have a feeling about it, but, you know, so I didn't say anything about that. So a few days later, the curator of the museum, Karen Irvine, who I've worked with in the past, she reaches out and just asks, like, you know, that you rescinded permission for publication, I'm assuming you don't want to be in the show. And I was like, yeah, you're right, Karen, I don't want to be in the show. Thank you for, you know, for following up on that. And so, you know, I decide not going to be in the show. And that was that. I thought that was it. A couple days later, my wife finds an application for a symposium, and one of their topics is like a photography symposium. And one of their topics is like canceled exhibitions or like sort of controversy around exhibitions. And so I'm like, hey, actually, this is like a good moment to really like dig into this, like this idea, right? It made me feel a type of way. I really should lean into it and dig a little deeper and figure out, you know, what's really at the root of all this, right? And so I submit it. 6 months go by. It's now July. The symposium, they start jurying. And then after I get accepted, or like around the same time I get accepted, something like that, I get this email from Sarah Lewis. So there's a pause right here for a second, because either I have been living rent-free in her head for 6 months over this choice, or somebody on the jury knows her and sent her the proposal, right? So she sends this email, and to me, it feels very passive-aggressive. And why I feel that way is because not once does she ask, I'm interested to know why you didn't want to be in the show, right? I think as a curator, I might ask that question of somebody who pulled out, because, yeah, like maybe I'm making a misstep. Maybe there's something I'm not seeing, and this individual might have, you know, like some new insights for me, right? So not once does she ask, but then she also does the same thing that she's doing with the show. She starts to try to position me pulling out as some sort of like moral rehabilitation in the context of the show that is completely a lie. It's not what happened, right? A museum doesn't send you a request for image permission. Oh, sorry, let me step back. So she's basically, what she says is that, you know, I pulled out of the show. It really made her think deeply about the nature of the show, and she didn't want to have any sort of death in the show. So, you know, thank you, Zora, for pulling out, right? And right, and so it's like, you know, I'm not going to let you. And then she, wait, so again, there's another part. So she then also says that, like, I wasn't a solid choice yet. Like, she hadn't, you know, it wasn't in the show solidly yet. But it's like, that's a lie, because a museum does not send out an image permissions request with a very urgent tone saying, like, we need this now from you, if you're not going to be included, right? And so all that sort of childishness aside, yeah, like it made me, you know, go back to the paper, and I was like, actually, I'm going to just start like writing this now, and I'm going to publish it publicly with the intention of hopefully struggling through the ideas with people, because, you know, again, like, this is all, like, while it's not like necessarily new to me, like, this is like early phases for me, right? You know, like, my political transformation is like 5 years old, about, right? Like 2020, 2021 is when I really started to understand sort of, you know, the material realities of the world, and like what has caused those material realities, what keeps those material realities in place, and then sort of the function of the art industry, academic industry inside of that. So so maybe I should leave it there, and if anyone has anything to add.
I just want to point out that Zora, because I think you just know how much I love to watch these things play out. And because we've also been having these ongoing conversations about museums and, how all of these things work. So Zora shared the email, and Jared and I were immediately like, "What'd you say? Like, what did you tell these people?" And the fact that you decided to write an essay to explain how deeply problematic this whole, like, the process, the response, the act of pretending as if, there was some other thing happening, I think is perfect. Right.
Yeah, well, and I'll just add quickly, and my position within it, right? Both past and right.
Right. And so I so deeply respect that you made the decision that was probably not, like, it's not going to be materially beneficial for you to back out of the show, right? And on Remix lately, we've been having a lot of these conversations about, like, the role and the responsibility of people who are making money off of things that are not beneficial to anybody outside of them, but they're trying to hold on to their position, their capital, their whatever thing, right? And I think it's important to really say to you how deeply I felt that you made that decision, that you weren't going to participate in something that you felt like was not aligned with how you want to be and you want your work to be represented in the world, right? And it's also why Mtume's here, because Mtume, I feel like, makes this decision on a regular basis.
Habitual lines.
Habitual line stepper. And, I'm sure Mtume has 8,000 stories of how he has also, like, walked this path. And there's more, so you wrote this essay. We had to make sure we linked the essay before we let Mtume jump in, because I feel like he's chomping. I can see it. Like, Mtume's whole head all the wheels are spinning. Is there anything about, can you talk about making the decision to not just respond to this person and say, "You full of shit and here's why," but to actually take the time to explain fully and clearly your response to how she did this?
So I sent you guys this, but I wrote an email, right? And it was just like sort of the get out that initial emotional energy, right? Like, if she was here right now, like, what could I say to her? And I've just tried to be better about, because I used to just sort of lash out and send the emotional email. And so I've tried to be better just about, like, just thinking again about, like, what is the utility of this, right? And so looking again, like, just looking at her email and, just picking apart the facts of it. Like, I don't need to engage with this person in that way. I think one of the maybe most meaningful things that I wrote in it was, like, you need to think more clearly. Actually, I'm going to say this directly into the camera. You need to think more clearly about the power that you have and the influence that holds over people, and how that can make them make decisions that are detrimental to themselves. You have that power. You yield it in what I feel are disgusting ways. And someone needs to tell you that, and I guess I'm going to tell you that. So, I think that was like the most meaningful thing that I wrote in that email. But then it was more important for me to, again, take a look back, think about my own practice and how, I've touched these, spectacleized images of violence, thinking that they're doing one thing when they're ultimately doing a different thing, right? And doing that for the purpose of trying to demonstrate to people who, sort of follow along with what I do, other artists, like, the people I can speak their language, right? Like, I'm just trying to really break this down and be very transparent about it. Because we don't do that. Like, right, we'll be in, we'll see each other at, events and like hang out at bars and stuff and, just sort of, kiki and all that, right? But we don't ever talk about it in ways, in more meaningful ways, in more open ways, because of the idea of like the repercussions. No, stop there.
Yeah, because I do remember, Zora, I think you were on the show speaking about the very beginnings of this, right? And funny enough, when I listened to that episode, I was actually coming from a picket of the nurses' strike here in New York, uptown. So, you beginning to speak about those kinds of issues of, reproduction and labor and in the middle of an actual, strike was very interesting to me. And I was making a lot of parallels in that moment. When I reread your pieces, and you said it already, the thing that really disturbs me is this need to be speculative about our history. I'm very, very disturbed by this impetus and this idea that we must transfer historical events into the world of this dreamlike imagination space, that we can somehow solve those issues in, the ether or the cloud of imagination. And I find it, evidence, I think, of a liberalism that permeates all thinking within the kind of arts, and an acceptance of it as like the highest way to be, which I think, you have these like cultural people who even call themselves various cultural nationalists and pro-Black, but they're about as liberal European in their ideology as anyone walking this earth. So that is one thing, because like there is also, but that because it's speculative rather than being theoretical, right? There are theoretical and then does practice questions and thinking about Emmett Till and the continuum, where he lies in the continuum, and a theoretical way to analyze the conjuncture that created that situation. And how do we situate it now, and so forth and so on. And that is ripe for any kind of artistic practice. But what they're doing is not that. This is and some years ago, I did a critique of what's the Regina King film with about the play with Malcolm and Martin and all of them. What's that terrible ass movie?
One Night in Miami, right?
One Night in Miami. And the thing that I had came to was like, this has really little to do with Malcolm Martin and Jim Brown and Sam Cooke. This is everything to do with Regina King trying to prompt herself up as the arbiter and the kind of continuum of Black politics. And within that Hollywood class, they are the people that we must follow, we must invest in, which then she had a couple of years ago, she's Shirley Chisholm, right? I mean, come on, like think about the trajectory for Regina, right? And it's funny, I went to a screening, I went to the opening of the film, was it the Baldwin movie, If Beale Street Could Talk? I went to a private screening at the Black History Museum. at the Smithsonian. Yeah, for a film festival that they had that I won't talk too much about, because that was another moment of fuckery that I had with them. That's a rabbit hole. I won't go there just yet. But I remember being in that room as they were premiering the film, and they went into this speech about imprisonment and incarceration, and it was all very vague. And I'm listening to her and Barry Jenkins speak about these social problems as these kind of abstractions, but the very clear message was invest in us. And they really had no solutions, but the key thing was to invest in them, right? And it will somehow, maybe, I mean, really what they're probably saying, and they don't realize that it'll give you some kind of catharsis. And because structurally, we really can't change it. So invest in us. You'll get a kind of cathartic, release of it for 2 hours watching this film, and that'll be it. And yeah, I remember, first of all, the movie was not very good. I really did not like that film at all. And then I remember having a few conversations with people after we walked out, and we're all like very miffed by the messaging and like, what were we supposed to do with this? I remember being a word like, what am I actually supposed to do with this message, this movie, and this moment? You actually leave those experiences, if you're really thinking and you're not in this kind of social mobility kind of like trajectory, or even fooled yourself to think that you are, if you leave those experiences being very disarmed and actually kind of depressed. I went back home like just sad. I wasn't, there was nothing really there for me. The other thing, I mean, Zora, your point about the institutional control, this is like the thing that I've been having arguments with really probably like my whole career, to be honest with you, my whole life, all the time, all the way from like when I was doing work at the older version of the National Black Theater here in New York when I was like 17 or 18. And this question of when people proclaim to be of the community, to be of ones who want to kind of speak for us, speak with us, hold space, and so forth and so on. And then, when you start asking them questions, or you begin to, maybe try to get like a larger theoretical base, or even like, especially around the people like that, like they will invoke, like they'll bring in Paul Robeson. And then you'll go, well, he was a communist and he organized with those people. And that's when the conversation kind of stops. They get a little like, well, Paul, that was Paul, But I was like, but why are you invoking these people, but you're not really dealing with their totality? Like, it's very disturbing. But then what I realize is they want this kind of like hegemonic control. And it's just classic petty bourgeoisie, colonial bourgeoisie practice. It's all it is at the same. Then you realize it's actually not that like different or unique. It's just like the newer version. And then you realize that the investment that capital has in these people is so necessary. But the last part that really gets me, because I've had versions of this as well, Zora, is the kind of like Matrix move they try to do, that like, you taught me something. right, and like, I'm like, what is this like little Matrix move you try to do right here? Like Neo, like, rewrite the code a bit, and then they think that you'll accept that. And like, I don't really know, like, this is where I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not going to kind of like try to psychoanalyze anyone. But what it actually confirms to me is that they're not as unconscious as I would want them to be. I think they would be, to make me feel a little bit less okay about it. I mean, more okay about it. I realize
those are the moments I felt most gaslit.
Yes. And like, there's a purposeful.
Like, oh shit, you're not. Yeah, this is not an unconscious. I'm just falling backwards into deceit. You are.
It's a really purposeful move,
and you know that if I react, I'm gonna look crazy. He's or inappropriate would be the word. His behavior, his response was inappropriate. Well, yeah, because you're over here betraying me, acting like and making it seem like I've done you a favor and that we've worked this out. You know. Yeah. I'm sorry to have. Yeah.
No. It's so good. It's all.
That was the moment where I could fully relate.
And then I'll say this in close. I mean, that's why I've disengaged with so many. So kind of similar to you, like if anyone who like I know who works in like Hollywood spaces or institutional spaces, you don't hear from me as much as you used to. Just know that it's because I know I'm walking in like active landmines of deceit. And I don't like
you know they're wearing a wire.
They're wearing a wire. They're wearing a wire, right? The little like tap, the little tap thing. You know? I mean, it's born identity shit. Like I'm going there, there's cameras and you're feeding all that info. And I just don't. So yeah, I mean, it's but you know, but props to you. I think, and like, yeah, the pieces were great. I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about, and I wanted, but those are like my initial.
And I did catch a former Pulitzer Prize winning journalist illegally recording one of our faculty meetings. So that wire thing is not that
far off.
It's not that far off.
You know what? Mtume, I really appreciate so I am not an artist. I'm not in the realm of a lot of these things, and I'm not as popular as Jared, so I don't get involved. I don't get invited to spaces where I have to be like worried about these things. But this also brings us to the question that we've been asking each other now for like 3 years, some longer, some shorter. Definitely me always asking Jared about where we allow our spaces, where we allow ourselves to participate in other people's spaces when these things come up. Who we allow in our space to discuss things, and how we navigate this very real question of like, and it really is like, it's fucked up. Cause like, how do you get people to know you exist without participating with people that maybe are a little bit questionable, but they have a really big following, really big audience, really big whatever, right? And the timing of Zora's essays, like literally like as we're emailing and sharing links, I get the pop-up from Democracy Now! That the curator was on to talk about this new exhibit. And I was like, I mean, if anything is the kiss of death when they try to say they're doing something that's like reasonable and all, it's these shows that market themselves as independent media, but we all know that there's some other stuff happening behind the scenes there that is definitely not aligned with truly educating people about the realities of what's going on in this world, right? And they do just enough. Like Democracy Now! Does just enough that you know they're capable, right? Like, you know, the possibility is there that they could actually be truly something a little bit better, right? But then they go back to doing the same old thing that they do, and they remind you, like, just because we're capable of it doesn't mean we're going to do it. And then it brings me back to my theory that they only do it so that you continue to think that they're capable, so you keep giving them the credit, right? Like it's such a trap it's such a trap, right? Like, but I don't know. Should we talk a little bit more about your pieces first, and then, you're writing what you wrote, we can make sure that all the links are there. Since, because Mtume started to talk about it. So maybe, I don't know, Jared, if you have something you wanted to jump in with before, but we can go into kind of your choices.
No, I was just making.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just let me know what to pull up.
Go ahead, Renee.
No, I was just gonna say, you tell us where you want us to start, because I'd like us to kind of talk through what you wrote about and how what you want people to understand. Coming from the reading.
Yeah, sure. So I think that Renee and Mtume, you're hitting the nail on the head with like the liberalism of it all, right? When both of you were talking, I was thinking about the Omar El-Akkad book, One Day Everyone Will Have Been Against This. And he breaks down what a liberal looks like really well. He writes, "It's difficult to live in this country at this moment and not come to the conclusion that the principal concern of the modern American liberal is, at all times, not what one does or believes or supports or opposes, but what one is seen to be. From this outcome, everything is reverse engineered. Being seen as someone who believes in justice, not the messy, fraught work of achieving it, is the starting point of any conversation on justice. Saying the right slogans supersedes whatever it is those slogans are supposed to oblige. It makes sense when there are no real personal stakes, when the missiles are landing on someone far away, being seen as good is good enough." And yeah, so I mean, I think that, and then another thing you said, Mtume, that I think this aligns with is, the sort of premise of the exhibition being the speculative imagination, but it's not, that imagination isn't politically innocent, right? But they try to position it like it is. And so whatever they want to imagine Emmett Till as, or experiences that he maybe had, we're encouraged to imagine through those liberal norms, right? So what are we'll watch the Democracy Now! Video, but we'll get an emphasis that's placed on family, that's placed on joy, that's placed on ordinary life, that's emphasizes witnessing, citizenship, and democratic belonging, right? Those are the only ways we're able to imagine inside of that endeavor is like liberal ideology, because this is a liberal endeavor to begin with, and then the liberals are running it, and so they behave like liberals do, right? So it's like, it reveals, all of the shit that's actually inside of it, right? But yeah, the Democracy Now! Video, I can.
All right, I got that. Was there a particular timestamp, or were we just playing it from the beginning, or what was?
I mean, we could play it from the beginning. I tried to write down like some things that I was noticing. But yeah, we can just go from the top.
All right.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org.
Man, I haven't watched this
I'm Amy
in so
Goodman in
long.
New York with Juan Gonzalez in Chicago. What if Emmett Till had lived? What if he'd safely boarded the train back home to Chicago? More than 70
angry
years
all over
after
again.
The kidnapping, torture, and lynching of 14-year-old Emmett Till in Mississippi, a major new photography exhibit and companion book ask those questions by imagining not only the life young Emmett lost, but the decades he was denied. This is the exhibit's curator, Sarah Elizabeth Lewis.
What if Emmett Till lived? What if he had returned home still a child alive and free? What would that life have required of us all? These questions invite a reckoning with the past and a probing investigation of the current state of American life. This exhibition, this publication, and the invitation together offer a collective arena to consider how freedom has been secured on American ground. It is a creative monument to Emmett Till's unlived life It lets us picture what could have come, what should have come. It lets us imagine it, what it wrought, and what it signals about the work that remains.
If Emmett
All right, so
Till had
I'm going to
lived,
vote
he
that
would have
we
turned
don't
85
do
years
this to
old on July
everybody.
25th, the day the...
I can't.
Say that again. You're going to vote for
I
what?
said I'm going to vote that we don't fully do this to everybody. So I don't you didn't watch it, Jared, right?
No, this is my first run, so I'm cool with whatever.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like, I feel like I was incensed enough the first time. I don't know that I want to do it a second time. I remember very clearly, like, I don't remember which documentary it was, and they did like a visualization, like AI version of Zimmerman killing. Oh my God, why am I having a mental?
Trayvon Martin.
And I remember you saying at the time, like, who told them to do this? Like, who told them that we needed a visual to go along with the audio of this thing, right? And so just rewatching that little bit, I'm reminded of this idea of who thought this was a good idea, right? Who in their imagination was like, let's represent the American freedom that the Blacks now have via the eyes of what Emmett Till would be living through right now if he hadn't been lynched as a poor. Like, what? Like,
and what was the we? The part where you said what it would mean that what we would all have had to give to his whatever. I'm like, we. Yeah. So
listen. So I mean, I am willing to concede if everybody wants to sit through this. I don't know if in your notes you have like timestamps. Like, mostly I was just writing down
get specific.
the absurdity of this entire thing, and how like excited the curator is to be like on Democracy Now! And talking about this thing that she came up. So all the things. So I will concede if y'all really want to sit through it.
And
but
Amy's
I feel like,
reading it, even in her aging, she's still getting the energy up to read this like a win. This is a win.
Bruh. I just don't want to do it. And I feel like the audience right now, I feel like when I go back to the chat after the show runs, everybody's going to say thank you to me. So y'all are welcome.
Probably. Well, I think maybe to the chat, I'll throw out a plea to maybe just watch the part where she's speaking. And the only reason I say that is because this is the most at length. I think outside of that CNN article, I think this is the most at length that she has personally talked about the premise of the show, because it's just been exhibition copy and then obviously like press copy. So I would say
play a few minutes from here. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, just play a little bit from her speaking, and then we can dive in.
I spoke with you, who inspired this entire journey for me. Have we made good on the sacrifice of Emmett Till's life? This is a question I asked myself when I went to Mississippi and saw for myself the evidence of the resistance to honoring his life even 70 years later. The bullet shot marker at the Tallahatchie River site, Grable Landing, for example, being one. And I asked myself, what more could I do? We all have a role to play, and asked myself if we need new ways to see anew, to see his life anew. This exhibition was inspired by Mamie Till Mobley's prophetic act. She challenged us to understand the power of witnessing in American democracy. She said, as you know, let the world see what they've done to my son. in that moment,
not
she
what
was
he
living
could have
out,
done if they didn't
an
kill
idea
him.
that so many before her understood, Frederick Douglass, W.B. Du Bois, that we would need the power of the image to understand the unspeakable in American democracy. But the question I asked myself is, what's required today? Have we seen so many images of injustice that we might be numb to it? And so through the extraordinary collection at the Museum of Contemporary Photography, found an arena, a way to invite people in to understand his humanity, all of our humanity, and resulted in this exhibition that opens in September. It's culled from the collection approximately 70 photographers deliberately to rhyme with the nearly 70 years that have passed, and really is joining so many others in this moment, from the National Trust that is doing extraordinary work to renovate Roberts Temple, to the state of Illinois, where Governor Pritzker announced that we would have an Emmett Till Day, to really ask this question: if Emmett Till lived, what would that life have looked like for us all? Right. And so it brings everyone in to this conversation.
And Sarah Lewis, I wanted to ask you,
we could stop there for a second. And again, like, folks, go watch the video. Like, watch it, because some of the claims that she makes are wild. I think maybe one of them was like, oh man, what was it that she said? I knew this was going to happen. Maybe it'll come back to me. But I think one of the things that I wrote down was how this premise and approach, individualized redemption obscures collective struggle. And so, you have these quote unquote exceptional individuals who are privileged, Emmett Till equals national sacrifice. Mamie Till equals prophetic witness. Wheeler Parker equals forgiving survivor. And then Lewis equals the curator who has undergone a moral journey and is rehabilitated. And then artists are agents who have power to appeal to conscience and, and how we possess a special sight, and therefore like an ethical obligation to help people witness. Anyway.
Y'all.
I can't. I'm just glad that Mamie is not here to have to suffer, or maybe this wouldn't happen if she was here. But that whole thing cannot be, like, how could nobody have made this point to her? That when what kind of false comparison is that, to say depicting a falsely hopeful life that never happened is the same as Mamie Till making the world see what these motherfuckers did to her son? Like, what are you talking about? That if anything, this speaks against that. This like works to undermine what Mamie Till seems to have done that for in the first place. That's
so. Wow. When I was watching that little, I guess, sizzle reel, whatever they made there of it, I said, oh wow, they're attaching the great man of history theory to Emmett Till. And then how does Emmett Till become a great man of history? Through his murder. And I feel like if you just kind of sit there with those two things, you reach some funky points. Then also you study the great man of history theory and its problematic nature within kind of liberal narrative discourse and narrative construction. You realize it does what Zora talks about. It separates the individual from the totality. And in a way, it makes the individual the totality, or their own totality, their separate totality, that you can kind of do all types of musings and then do kind of like idealist explorations of it. And it's really nasty. The other thing, and like, I can't pretend that I know enough about Mamie Till Mobley's sayings and thoughts and practices. I haven't read up on her. the witness thing and the kind of reuse of it since the Baldwin documentary, I Am Not Your Negro, by Raoul Peck, I think has taken a very pernicious life on its own. I do credit some of its problems to Baldwin, I will say, because the thing about the witness is it does not require intervention. That's the thing. And look, I don't necessarily think Baldwin believed that necessarily. Maybe it depends on where he was in his life. Baldwin had a very, I mean, if you read some of his, he had very, like, I think, mixed feelings depending on the year about intervention. And he was very honest that sometimes he didn't want to intervene because he was just fucking scared. Right? Like he knew he could not, and he was very honest about that. But the way it's been appropriated by the petty bourgeoisie or the black bourgeoisie, whatever you want to call them, the professional managerials, is this idea that this kind of detached witnessing, that then they can create these interactive commodities, situations as some kind of deep political act that also does a restorative like practice for justice is just cowardly. I can't find a better word. It's cowardice. Right? I mean, it's just like, come on. You're doing actually nothing substantively in terms of what the actual fights that are happening, other than solidify yourself and your kind of social climb. Let's just keep it real, right? And you see a lot of this, and it's just it's just very, I mean, and you know, the thing about democracy now that I've realized when they, and this is probably nothing new because black folk been saying this for years about them, their interventions or whatever, or their inclusions of kind of black politics always goes into this like paternalistic, like, thank you. It's like a thank you. It's like they're like warm. They're like warm. No, they're cold hugs. Actually, I won't even call them warm hugs. They're cold hugs, right? Because you're just like, oh, thank you, and you're like, you know, you when they hug you, you kind of like do this. You gotta do this. And then like you look
like,
at your
how you
friend,
hug
like,
me, I get colder.
and then you look at your friend like, okay. And then like when they leave, you go, that was weird. That's the democracy now, people of color segment.
It's some wild stuff. I gotta say, Mtume, like I have like a collection of things that people say when we have them on that I don't know how I'm gonna manage this. I don't know if I'm just gonna put it on a shirt. But the idea, what you just said, being a witness does not require intervention, I think is something that people need to sit with, right? Because we spend an enormous amount of time as a population of people watching as things happen and doing absolutely nothing in an attempt to change it, to address it, to fix it, whatever words you want to put in, right? And so the idea of being a witness, I don't think I've ever really thought about it in that way, that like you can just witness something that could be the most atrocious thing on earth and you don't have to intervene it, but then you can take credit just for being witness to it, right? Like, I'm a witness, right? Like, okay, but what'd you do, right? It's like whenever you see these videos of really bad shit happening and they're giving you like whatever information came from the person who was standing next to it while it was happening, filming, and you're like, well, weren't you going to do something, right? And there's so many situations where you really think like, what would I have done? Like every time I think of George Floyd, I think of how, like, what do you do in a situation when you're very clear that your life is at risk if you intervene? but someone is going to die if you don't intervene, right? Which makes me think of the Pendleton 2 and the additional 100 and whatever years they got because they decided to intervene, right? Whatever I just say whatever because I can't remember the exact number. I just know it's over 100 years. And also, the other word that she used that really irritates me whenever people say this, Emmett Till's sacrifice. I'm sorry. Did he choose to be lynched as a 14-year? Like why are we using this terminology to explain when things are done to people that they did not sign up for? Right? He didn't sacrifice. He was murdered. Can we not?
But it's a confession of the person speaking, because what they're saying is, I'm chilling now because they made a sacrifice so that I can get over. So it doesn't. Yeah, it's they didn't have to sign up for it, and it's like, that's because it's irrelevant.
So that's why you got to go vote for Kamala, right? I mean, it's the same.
I mean, ultimately,
isn't it the same logic?
It is 100%.
They died so you could go vote.
Right. Well, and I think that it also reveals the technology of it, in that, you know, witnessing doesn't require you to intervene, right? So in the video, she talks about, like, one of the hidden forces in American democracy is the power of culture. So she thinks, like, you know, if we were to say that, it means one thing. When she's saying it, it means a different thing. Like, you know, we're talking about, like, Fidel's hearts and minds, right? She's talking about the technology that keeps us witnesses. And then that means, like, we're not interveners, right? And then just the fact that she's saying, like, you know, the power, you know, like, that's like the power of culture. And I think there's also something to it about, like, she says later in the video, like, creating an appeal to moral imagination. And she says something else about like appealing to, like, artists, like, needing to, like, appeal to conscience or something like that. Right. But it, like, all of those things, again, they just keep us as witnesses.
And, like, those are, to me, abstractions, like, because you can do all that in isolation and not have to. Okay, no. Actually, I'll reverse that, because if you were to truly do that, you would then have to then situate the creation of your art within the totality. So then you're going even to the actual materials you make. How can you honestly ask that question and then not interrogate extraction of the global south to make the brushes you make and the cobalt that's mined for the cameras you use, right? And then how do you not then get at an impasse that says either I'm doing the bidding of empire, or I'm going to use these things for now to be part of a revolutionary front to overthrow empire? Like, I don't then, because then you're just kind of bullshitting. Like, it's like you're not actually asking those questions. That's where I also get very frustrated, because they ask these kind of ethereal questions that, if you actually brought them to your logical conclusion, you could not reconcile with how you're working. And then I'm just like, you're full of shit, like, for lack of a better line, right? And then I'm the angry one in the corner. Well, no, you're not being realistic. That's kind of what. Well, you're just not being realistic. And I'm like, well, no, you're not living up to the thing that you're actually trying to call us to do.
Right. Well, you all, you know, you invoked Tony Cade Bambara during the Boots, the boosters thing, right? And, you know, so that, you know, I included that in my essay because it was resonating. But, you know, what you're talking about is when she says, you know, the task is, you know, of the artist is to serve their community, right? But then that is determined by like what you make is determined by the community that you're serving. So if you're serving the bourgeois class, you're a bourgeois artist, right? But then she goes on to end, as a cultural worker who belongs to an oppressed people, my job is to make revolution irresistible. But in this country, we're not encouraged and equipped at any particular time to view things that way. And so the artwork or art practice that sells capitalist ideology is considered art, and anything that deviates from that is considered political propagandist, polemical, didactic, strange, weird, subversive, or ugly.
Sometimes I feel really ill-equipped for these conversations because I get so irritated by people's nonsense. And I really, just like Mtume just said, you just want to tell people, just stop. Just stop. Just tell everybody that you got offered a lot of money to put some bullshit together. And so you put it together. And anybody who was inclined and okay with participating in your bullshit, because they were also okay with making a little bit of money off of it, and let's just not play this game with people, right? Because that, I think, is the part of it that really frustrates me is, so now you have this exhibition and it's on Democracy Now!, CNN is doing articles, you have some real mainstream push for people to go and witness, right? This envisioning of what Emmett Till would have been able to experience had he not been lynched. And it's all bound around this idea of American exceptionalism, of quote unquote freedom, right? Of democracy, all these things that don't actually exist, right? None of these things exist. None of these things are tangible things that anyone who lives within the boundaries of this oppression, the boundaries of this colonial state, the boundaries of this capitalist nation, these are not realities for people. And so this, go ahead, Jared.
I'm sorry. I'm just listening, and but it reminds me of what I've always, and why I've stopped. I haven't watched Democracy Now! In years. It's one of the problems that I've thought exists in this country for a long time, and I'm obviously not the first to say it, that when it comes to the white left and white progressives in this country, who are very quick to talk of Black liberation as past tense. So it's not that we shouldn't be in solidarity with other people around the world. It's not that we shouldn't be in solidarity with this group. It's not that we shouldn't care about the earth and this crisis and that crisis, but they're just so quick, because you would never, if someone had showed up, even Amy Goodman wouldn't accept if somebody had showed up there and said, I have an art exhibit that said, what if Hind Rajab had lived? What do we all owe her for her sacrifice? Because first of all, you'd be like, that's gross. Second of all, you'd be like, Palestine is obviously still not free. But behind all of this, I keep hearing is this argument that Black people are good here. Y'all are good. So we can talk about Emmett Till in this way. We could talk about Black history in this way, because it's what struggle could you possibly have left? So that's it's so anyway, yeah.
But it's weird, because if we're in if we're in this, we're this moment of we're liberated. If we're liberated, then why do we need the exhibition then? Because then the exhibition just goes to talk about how we need to be in constant pursuit, this chase for our freedom. I mean, even she, again, going back to the video, she says, if every American took the journey that Emmett Till walked to go to Mississippi and that his body went through to meet his end, we would have the truth and reconciliation we need in this democracy.
Yeah, and like the other thing that I'll add is also this, you could also even put it that like the liberating horizon is through liberal institutions. This is why I have no room for the liberal argument against Trump's fascist work against, you know, institutions, taking out Black things from it. We, first of all, should have no aspiration for those institutions in general, right? This is where, who was it? Mark Bamuti Joseph, when he was at the Kennedy Center, when he was let go from the Kennedy Center, was that like, I think he was the head of that. And I saw an interview with him, and my challenge to him, and I don't know him well, but we've you know, we don't agree on anything, and I've met him a few times, but my challenge to him was, why did you think that an institution that is built on a settler colonial logic, them just putting you in the front as a sort of window dress for people to accept this, is a horizon that we should look towards, right? So someone like Amy Goodman, for all of the Democracy Now, War and Peace Report, and all this type of stuff that she likes to invoke about being like on the ground and in the struggle, to kind of accept this like ideology that like Black people have reached, like you're saying, Jared, have reached a kind of liberation point, and now our liberatory practice is just basically at the same level as y'all, with maybe little qualitative differences here and there, is an absurdity. It's a backhanded or front. I don't even know if it's backhanded or front-handed. It's like multi-handed slaps, right? And I have to say, it makes me wonder, what have they always felt? Honestly, like, were they just kind of 30, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, when they were like young folks out there, just kind of, you know, going rah rah, but when they get home, they're like, yeah, you know, it's what we have to do in the organizing right now, because, you know, they got a little bit of power and influence.
I mean, obviously, whether, you know, there's decades of the white liberal being the subject of massive criticism from everybody from Dr. King to Assata Shakur. There's many memoirs and histories of the broader labor movement, the communist movement, where the rightward, all of the and in our own experiences, we've all been in some form of something where we've seen, or I'll just speak for myself, I even am not I'm not claiming some militancy that I might have a few decades ago. So I don't even want to just, but it would be right to, I'm just not currently doing it. So yeah, it's just clear. And then I don't want to keep belabor the point, but if you do, I actually think Democracy Now! Is a case study. If people go back to what is now almost 30 years, right, of Democracy Now! and just listen to the show, just do a content analysis of the transcripts. I mean, it's just right there. It would have to be. So anyway, yeah. But we have Black Panther 3 coming, so
I was gonna say, when are we gonna get to the Black American?
I was just about to say, now that we can talk about Democracy Now! Being whatever, and listen, not for nothing, I used to watch. I was I was a watcher. I was a follower. I gave $5 when I could, and I'll tell you, my endpoint for Democracy Now! was her interviews about Judas and the Black Messiah. And it was...
I was already out by then. So
you were already out by then, I'm sure. But before the movie came out, she did an interview, and it was with the British dude who played
Daniel Kaluuya,
and the executive producer director. Some I don't fully remember.
Shaka King, right? Yeah,
I think so.
No? Yeah,
I'd have to go back and find it to figure out who was on there. But who was missing from the interview was, like, Fred Hampton Jr. Right? The Black Panthers who were still alive. Like, I was like, you really did an interview about a movie about Fred Hampton, but you didn't include any of the, like, living history about the Black, like, what did I just watch? And I literally that day was like, y'all will never get another dollar from me. And I wrote in there, when I said why I'm not giving money anymore, I was like, you literally just did an interview about the Black Panthers, and there are living Black Panthers, and none of them participated in this interview. And how does that happen? Right? And so I think this is a great segue for us to talk about why they're letting British people play Black Panther. And and how excited everybody is that there's going to be another Black Panther.
Because that's the only problem with the film.
That's the problem.
Nothing else.
All these foreigners participating.
And if Chadwick had lived, we would just be. I do want just from a like a geeky, non-radical whatever. It is super trifling for Hollywood, and I think for the Black compradors to allow this for marketing purposes to not replace the character because Chadwick died. No disrespect to Chadwick, you can honor him, but when all the other Superman actors died, they don't get rid of the character. You recast the character and keep it moving. But because they tied the marketing of the last film to his death and got over using his death to market the film, they got to do it now. Now they got to do this whole legacy thing. So just in terms of the story, before we even get to the politics, it's already political and it's already marketing. It's already nonsense and silly. And then they throw this on there. And it's like, how many more distractions before anybody realizes that if I may channel Samantha for a moment, we're dealing with a PsyOp in the first place. Like, why are we even being encouraged to discuss this psychic intrusion? So I mean, it's yeah. But how would you all like to?
So, firstly, can somebody remind me the after scene where we find out that he has a child? That was the first one, or was that the
second one? That
was the second one. So we already know this is a setup.
And his name is Toussaint Louverture, right? Because that's because they want to, more of that little.
We just gonna dig in a little more. We're gonna dig in a little more, right? So they colluded literally to set this whole thing up so they could continue to sell the old Black Panther and now add a new Black Panther that they can now sell. But it's his son, so it's different. So it is. This is wild stuff that we got going on here. And I can't even get, as y'all know, and I think I am, as always, the only tether in the room. As y'all know, my whole aggravation with this whole, like, ADOS, FBA, whatever nonsense, right? Like, that's the argument. But this is the problem with foundational Black quote unquote Americans, right? This is the problem with the holding on to the identity of an American and this steadfast, no, we built this place. This is our place. This is our. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm the tether. Is it because I'm the tether? Is it just me?
No. No, not at all. I have no allegiance and want to that red, white, and blue ass shit. That's weird. That's weirdo behavior. I grew up with that's weirdo behavior. Okay. So I'm just like, whenever I've seen that shit on the internet, I'm like, nah. Yeah, the thing that like really has always mystified me about the whole Black Panther thing generally is that Black Panther has some kind of level of authenticity that we must like figure out. Like there's like a ground zero of authenticity for Black Panther. A Marvel comic creation made by a couple of white people that off the bat was full of strange, xenophobic, anti-Black politics, radical politics, curation and creation, and then given tons and tons of like reworkings to make it acceptable, more marketable, and find a way to make more money. The fact that there's some kind of like authentic Black Panther, Wakanda, the idea that Wakanda represents an authenticity of an idea of Blackness is always been an oddity for me. Like when the first one rolled out and Wakanda became this like symbol of, I guess it would be what, Black achievement or Black speculative achievement, right? We can bring that back in, something like that. And then like Jared had brought up, tying Chadwick, even before people knew, people didn't really know until he died, tying Chadwick's existence towards it, right? Then he passes away, and then using the marketing thing. And then with this, like the kind of hopes and dreams of a certain kind of like orientation of like American Blackness gets attached to this thing. It's just absolutely, it's very odd. And the interesting thing though, because I'm going to flow it, there's a cross section of people who are in agreement to not liking this. You have the FBA, ADOS folks. You have very Black MAGA people who don't like it. Then you got the Black folk who don't like him being, I guess he hangs out with white women. They don't like it. Yo, I mean, there is a strange bedfellows union coming for the picket of this movie. You are going to see cross-coalitional hate for this film. And maybe
they're gonna tell you that as Black people, this is why you have to go support it. Because we gotta
that'll be the other
Wakanda.
end.
This is why.
And that'll be the other end, and people start doing this shit again. I mean, I have a confession. I actually have not seen Black Panther 2. So
it is.
I stopped watching at
oh
Endgame.
My God.
I don't watch Marvel no more. I was stopped at Endgame. I said it's called Endgame. It means I can get off the ship. I saw some Shang-Chi fights once in a couple of clips, and that's all I've seen.
It is. It was so, I just thought overtly, egregiously bad in terms of the politics and just the pitting Black against brown, and just everything was upside down and backwards. It was complete madness. I can't. Am I seeing correctly? This must be some AI thing that Will Smith is now in this thing. He's not in this. That must be some.
I mean,
that can't be right.
Listen, y'all.
This might,
if it
people
turns
must be
out
playing
to be
with
the truth, if it turns out to be the truth, I would not.
No, it's not.
No,
it's not true.
Okay.
It's not true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That would be. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
but so the one thing I'll say, and these are the moments where when people say like it's just a movie, right? Like, why y'all getting it's just a movie? Just go enjoy the movie. And I don't even know how. So I guess like if you want to say like I really just wanted to go see a lot of Black people on screen, right? And I'm not going to pay attention to anything but just be like excited that you have all these different versions of Blackness. You got bald Black women, you got fighting Black women, you got like the whole thing, right? There is a space, I think, for people to be like, well, I mean, it is Black people, right? But this is what makes it so dangerous. This is really what makes it so dangerous. And I'm not a Marvel person. Like, I'm not like, oh, the new Marvel movie's out, I gotta go see the new Marvel. Like, I was never a comic book collector. I was never. Comics for some reason they've not been my like favorite thing to read like ever. And so I don't know how do we get people to understand how captured we are and how all of these things that get put before us as they're playing in our face constantly with this stuff. Like, where
I don't know.
is...
I think I will say I think a good place to start is that if you have not read Todd's book, Marvel's Black Panther, and you do go see the movie, then you ain't Black, to quote our second greatest Black president ever, Joe Biden. So in all seriousness, I think this is a fair way to judge where however, to self-critique or whatever. If you do, as Renee is saying, you want that, I'm caught up in the zeitgeist, everybody's Black, whatever, then the minimum requirement is that you read this book, Marvel's Black Panther, a comic book biography from Stan Lee to Ta-Nehisi Coates by Dr. Todd Stephen Burrows. Feel free to skip the introduction. but so just a shameless way of plugging my man's book on but I do think in somewhere in there I mean it, like if you're gonna go see it, put in some study so that you are intellectually prepared, or your mental self-defensive fitness is conducted, or do as Mtume has done and not see the book and just engage in the institutional critique, or not see the movie, I should say. Don't see the movie. Be like Mtume, don't see the movie and engage in institutional critique of the film, or discuss some interesting reviews. But
I'm going to read Todd's book. I'm going to read Todd's book.
I think we should do that. I think we should read, because I haven't read Todd's book on this either.
Hey, I'm down. That's a great, yeah. And it might even get his ass back out here.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to take it that far, because Todd
that's
be
my,
like,
that's my goal.
On the streets. But listen, I'm down to try. Right? We have Samantha's writing her paper on Black Panther that I think is also necessary reading if you're going to
absolutely
delve into this stuff. Unfortunately, in Mtume, this means you're going to have to watch them. I know. I feel like y'all be making me watch stuff all the time. I had to watch Boosters. I had to watch one battle after another. Like, y'all be doing this to me all the time. And then when I say like you have to suffer, through it. Although Zora got away with it, Zora avoided watching Boosters, and I was like, I suffered so you didn't have to.
Good job.
Get him, Renee. Get him. y'all gotta watch it.
All right, so maybe you don't. I was just teasing. Maybe you don't have to watch it, but I'm definitely down to read the book.
I just know I'm going to see the movie. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to see the movie in the same way I knew I was going to watch the World Cup final, if not all the other games. You know, like, there are things I know I'm probably going to do. Like, I'm, you know, probably going to have this many drinks in a year or something like that. It's probably going to happen. So just try to mitigate it with, drink water, read a book, take a walk. You try to balance things out a little bit. But I have been moved per our last conversation with Samantha around the whole point of moving towards not seeing them. Now, I still think, given who I am and even what my job is and where I'm situated in life per se, I'm going to see these things and then try to encourage, some sort of Vernon philosophical approach to it. But I'm not mad. And if folks, look, I'll bring the talking points to hate on if folks don't see it. Like I'll give you what you need. I'll paint a picture of a scene worthy of criticism because I'm sure there will be plenty. But I like the idea of revisiting Todd's book. That's a great idea. When is this movie supposed to come out? Anybody? Is it that close?
It's in like 2 years.
Oh wow, really? We're that far away?
So that's right, because they just announced who was going to be.
Oh, they just announced the actor. They don't even have
so they haven't done any of this stuff yet. Oh, so there's a lot of time between now and then to navigate this.
You got Dr. Doom movies and all this shit coming before it. I mean, hopefully Marvel doesn't survive.
Well, so I admitted to you all that I had in my state. I blamed it on morning, but that I watched this Spider-Man joint and thought it was amazing. It even had me for a 24-hour period forgetting just the easy stuff, like the blatant propaganda. And I mean, it was just they just were pushing all the heartstrings and all the emotions, and it just sitting in there. It was like. But I was like, this is pretty well done, man. This is pretty well done.
Well, I'm going to say something. Just so they don't call me a self-hating black or anti-black, I haven't seen one of them Spider-Man movies either. The first time I watched Tom Holland in an extended thing was in that Odyssey. And my goodness, and I said this on the show, that guy cannot act.
He's perfect for Spider-Man.
He's really bad. I was a little shocked when I went and saw it.
How bad he was?
I was like, how bad he was. Because Matt Damon's kind of Matt Damon, right? Mm-hmm. Anne Hathaway, she can't really do things, but she's at least like, you feel like she's competent, but she's not. Tom Holland, the guy actually is just bad. Like, he's bad. It's really not.
No, he's well suited, pun intended, to be in a mask for most of the film. Like, he's not. I could see where if you move him off of Spider-Man, he's not gonna. I get it. I haven't seen Odyssey.
Like Telemachus, an actual like person wrestling with life questions. I was like, this guy sucks.
So I feel like if you sat through Odyssey, which I am not going to see, that is going to stay on my
maybe when it comes on.
Yeah, maybe when I can watch it without leaving my couch. Right. Maybe. You said no. Like, I just don't. I don't have it in me. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to at all. I just sat through that Moonfall movie with Halle Berry that I didn't.
Oh.
That I like mistakenly started watching, and I was like, what is going on in this movie? But so Zora, sorry, because we got to talking and you got to giggling, and so do you have
it's all good.
any thoughts?
I mean, not really. I just think the video that you sent, and the dude talking about like Black American erasure, and then. But
can you say a word or two about this Klein article? Because I did read at least some of it, and I'm interested in this point that it's that I thought that I understood it to be making, which was about the sort of structural role that New York and access to space to show art in galleries is itself obviously political and involves and it reminded me a lot of just I did flashback to all the discussions around hip hop and venues, or in DC, my beloved Go-Go, and where are the venues? And it's just you can the politics, and even going back to the jazz history of jazz and getting those cabaret cards. Like being talented is just one tiny, small little piece of the process of quote unquote success as an artist. So, but
yeah. I mean, the Josh Klein article, the reason I sort of included it with all the stuff today was going back to that idea of the role of the petty bourgeoisie. And, I think it's been a second since I read it. So I'm trying to remember accurately, but I just feel like there are things in it that analyses that are correct. Right. But again, if I'm remembering correctly, that he basically ends it like, it's not going to happen in New York for us anymore, where we're extremely priced out. So let's go gentrify Philly. That's what it seemed to be like a call to. And so, right. And then, but again, thinking about the petty bourgeoisie, you take these revolutionary principles, you pimp them out for the purpose of then reifying the petty bourgeoisie class, and then going to a different place, using art to gentrify, which is always used to gentrify, right? And then push people out, and then you bring in that class of people who, skyrocketed the real estate prices in New York, right? And then it's just the same shit all over again. But it got a lot of traction, in the sort of art industry world. Everyone was real kind of taken with his ideas and, thinking about how quote unquote brave he is, but it's like he's just, trying to do what colonizers do.
Yeah, and when one spot runs out, go colonize Philly.
Yeah, and it's funny that this is resurfacing, because this was a large conversation in the aughts, where you had New York's always going through several levels of venue changes. I used to talk to my dad about when he wouldn't go see jazz in the 80s on Columbus Avenue, and all that stuff was free. The most you probably ever had to do was buy a drink, right? It had a 1 drink minimum, and then you'd be able to go, and you see it anymore from Dee Dee Bridgewater in there, everything, right? And then they destroyed that whole thing over on Columbus Avenue in the Upper West Side, and then changed the cabaret laws in how those places had to be structured, right? And then everything changed, and you have the new venues or stuff like that, and then in the aughts to the early 2010s, it was another big change as gentrification and also the reformation of the downtown areas in New York started to happen. And there was a lot of talk, and you would see this largely from really kind of white upper middle class, but not, I wouldn't just say white, people who were kind of hanging around that, about going to other places. I mean, that was the big move for people to start gentrifying Detroit and making Detroit an art space. That was a big thing in the 2010s. Just buying property cheap making these like little centers for artists. That's why you saw all these artists move into Bushwick, quote unquote artists, and wannabe artists move into Bushwick, Brooklyn, and start creating their areas and things like that. And it's interesting because like people like make this like new, like it's a new thing, and like Zora just pointed out, it is the age old practice. I mean he's a terrible person, but that Richard Florida, he told the trick, right? I don't know if people know you know about him, Jab and Renee, or Richard Florida. Have you heard of this guy?
I don't think so. No.
He's the guy who wrote about the creative class, right? And the idea, and he thinks it's a good thing, right? The idea of the creative class. And when you're building kind of new city projects, what you need to do is invest in artists coming in, creating cafes, right? So in kind of city planning, you need to include people coming out of college and artists and so forth, and then it'll help give your cities prestige, right? The rise of the creative class. Zora just put it in the he's gotten a lot of really great, strong criticism from many of people, but that word, the creative and the creative class, largely comes from him, right? He is the kind of definer of that, right? But he was an advocate of this, right? This is what you need to do, right? But in reading it, like if you're doing like a counter read of it, right, you basically discover you discover the fucking colonizer sauce, right? Like this is like he's basically giving you the details of how they think about it, right? And it's fucking nasty. It's nasty as shit. Yeah.
No, right on. Thanks for sharing that.
Well, I just scrolled through and stopped on, I don't know what page it is, but he's saying that instead of using big spaces, that you just need to use the smaller community spaces and take over bike paths, and so we because y'all just be choosing violence. I don't understand like why I'm surrounded by people who don't actually like me and just want to irritate me with stuff all the time. These people be wildin'. They really do.
That's the headline, the tagline.
Truly. Well, no, I think like, you said it in the boosters thing, Renee, like, we have to stop looking at, the culture we produce, inside of the industry as anything that's other than like an industry compatible object, right? The industry is going to industry. We have to turn our backs on the system. The system's the problem, right? Like all of those really simple things, like, and of course in practice they become more difficult, but like what you were saying, it's like you're not wrong. But then again, like, we put out these like criticism pieces, and it ends up just being for the exact opposite purpose of pushing us away from the thing that's harming us.
So is there a worse, because so we talked about being a witness, right, which doesn't require intervention. We talked about being credited for sacrifices that we didn't actually make, right? Like it's only a sacrifice for the person who is using it for their own personal benefit now. And now, so how do we define, if there is a way to define it, like this role that gets played for people who identify a thing in a way that for like a split second you think they're doing one thing until you actually like realize it. Just like Jared said, like this is when he knows he's been gaslit, is like when he realizes, oh wait, you did this on purpose. Like how do we define, because there has to be a way to point this out to people, right? So just like Black Panther being like, oh, these beautiful visuals and the colors and the people and the da 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 da, and all of it's like this fantasy like created by white people, to sell people on this idea of what like Black exceptionalism looks like, which essentially is do everything that you can to help the colonialist project and don't worry about other Black people, right? Like how do we properly identify these things in a way that we can reuse later? Like I want a word for these things that I can use so that whenever it happens, Jared can like create like a little, like a little visual that he pops up, just like whenever somebody says something about like home ownership that's like completely against what the term home ownership rate actually means. And then, John Hope Bryant pops up with the wrong, and so we know like this how do we do this in a way that like people can easily digest it? I'm not trying to be an asshole. Like I really just want you to understand that you're
just when you see this face, it's the opposite. Whatever he's saying, it's the opposite. Just start there. just it's that thing. Like when you out and people, you see people running, you don't have to have any details. You just get busy. That's it. So this is people running. Just run away. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Honestly, beyond that, I don't know. The work that we all try to support, the Vernon philosophy, the Mtume's, well, for me, representation of third cinema, like all of this is an attempt to try to prepare us to, I think importantly, as we're doing here, working groups and in collectives to assess our media environment, whether we're engaging it directly as in going to see these films or not, or we're responding to our, the people in our environment responding to that environment. That's, yeah. So but yeah, if you see Bryant promoting something, run and and then yeah.
All right, so I just realized we're almost at time. I don't know where the time goes when we start talking. But so Mtume, is there anything? So one folks, just know, like I still have not seen Mtume's new movie, and I'm trying not to take it as a personal slight that hasn't happened. But I'm gonna start. I mentioned it to you, and you said yes. So now you're locked in for when we figure out like a day that I can do a screening, and Mtume can come and talk about the movie and his work and third cinema and all the things that you've encountered in recent months and years as you pursued this project specifically. Is there anything else besides, like, if y'all are not already signed on and listening to Mtume's podcast, you gotta do that, because it's be a lot of stuff, man. It'd be a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, onto the film, I just want to say, like, it's structural, y'all. Like, it's not it's like imagining you had to push a car that was not working and there's no one else to help you push it. It's gargantuan. It's a very, 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 like, annoying thing in that kind of way. And with a 2.5-year-old and a whole lot of other shit and desire actually to make more movies, it gets very difficult. I wanted to say one last quick thing, and I'll keep it really, really quick, about what you actually asked, Renee. I don't have a single word, but I've been having this thought about, like, when I grew up in, like, street knowledge. And street knowledge always had these, like, little couple of quips. And for all the chaotic thoughts that have come out of stuff, right? And a lot of that stuff, I've been kind of going back to some of the stuff that I used to listen to. I'm like, oh man, that's rife with problems. But some of the kind of like concepts, like tricknology, I'm bringing that word back into the lexicon. Like tricknology got to come back.
Please do, because Lord Jamar has been trying to do it from the exact wrong perspective. Like he's saying science is tricknology and clear thought is tricknology. So yeah, please. I'm signing up to support you.
We're gonna do that. Because I think to your point, Renee, one of the things that I did appreciate, even though, like I said, a lot of their thoughts are chaotic, and Lord Jamar is a long result of that chaotic thinking, there is, like, I feel like an entry point that we could probably put through this stuff by letting people know through these kinds of like street knowledge, like moves that people used to do, that will just push them to study. I think that's like the biggest thing, is like push them to study. I'll say this the last thing. One of the things that I saw, I was reading some interviews with Solanas, or I think it was Solanas, in about one of the co-writers of Third Cinema. And he said this thing. He said, Third Cinema is a research method. And I went, ooh.
Who said this?
Solanas, one of the co-authors of the Third Cinema text, and it was one of he said it's a research method. You have to think about that. You take it, and now I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, you take it and you situate the whole totality, and you do an investigation, both in what you're seeing and then also what you will then create. Right? So it's not just a term, it's a methodology, and like that's like the big thing. All right, for me. And yeah, you can find me within our gates, Imperial 80s. You know, we out here. You know, we're doing big next week. Ah, that's gonna be a trip. That's gonna be a trip. Woo! What they did to young boys with that movie was so weird.
Yowza.
Not
Penny Marshall.
Tom Hanks.
Penny Marshall.
They fucked us up. They really fucked us up.
It's so, the 80s were really, and every time I watch one of those shows, or I get the text, can you do? Because Back to the Future was dope. That was I so enjoyed that conversation. Jared, I hope you got your shout out when Reagan came up. But
no.
Yeah, we made sure that we tipped the glass.
My bad. Yeah,
sure
my bad. Yeah, well, thank you very much, because it was a beautiful moment.
Zora.
And as I said, we need to renew our vows.
Definitely. So Zora, your exhibition, Race and Hustle, is still available to folks at Mocha?
Yeah, Mass Mocha, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mass Mocha. I'm actually going to Springfield for a game, and so I'm like, you know what? That puts me like 3 hours closer to where your exhibition is than I am in New Jersey. And so now I've decided, like, I'm going to get to work that in. So I'm actually going to be able to go see it. We've been scheming, trying to figure out how I was going to get out there, and I think I have a plan now. I'm very excited. Cool. But thank you, one, for your willingness, as always, to share, because I saw that email and I was like, "Ooh, what is happening?" And
that's why I was like, we got to schedule. We got this, because I was like, this is some bullshit here.
And so this worked very well. Thank you for, to making the adjustment. I'm glad that in Mtume that we were able to do this together, because you two in one space, I feel like is definitely always something that we got to encourage at all times. Is there anything outside?
I think it's dope that we got a 2-year head start hating on that bullshit ass movie too.
Right? Listen, we get to do all the things, and y'all are gonna be mad. So real quick, so they're currently filming for Children of Blood and Bone, which is,
I think that's done.
It's coming out soon, right?
Yeah,
so they're in
the editing.
They're probably in the polishing phase now before it comes out. So I have to admit that I really liked those books. I liked that trilogy. It was a fun read for me. I met the author at a signing because my son really liked the books. And so when the third one came out, we went to a signing. I am going to go see the movie. I might actually pay to see that one, which is saying a lot. I know it's saying a lot. And I'm going to do it fully understanding that this is all problematic, right? So at least I figure if I go into it admitting that I understand that it's fully problematic, that it lives in the fact that I still watch the NFL, right? Like it's all in the same, I recognize where I'm captured. I understand it. I don't necessarily embrace it, but I admit to my shortcomings as far as these things go. But listen, I'm giving y'all a heads up because I don't want nobody being like, "What is she doing?" Listen,
no, I'm gonna make you look a little better. I'm gonna be your perspective adjuster that stands beside you to make you look better. Lioness season 3 just started. When I tell you the levels of this, it's bad, Mtume. It's bad, bro. I watched that bullshit.
Is this the one with what's her name?
Zaldana as a CIA op. It's Tyler Sheridan, Paramount. It's that Larry Ellison owned. It's all the madness.
Like,
and the first episode of season 3, I feel like they watch our shows, and Tyler Sheridan was like, watch this. I'm gonna fuck all of them up in one introductory episode. It's crazy. And but there's I don't know what it is. There's something about, I don't know. I don't know if there's something.
But this is how they get you.
I don't know what it is.
I've been watching Silo, and I'm very clear that Silo is fully problematic. But Common is like the bad guy, which is it's mind blowing to me that he's like the bad guy cop. Common is, whose wife is like gross. And like this whole gross in an emotional sense because she's mad, manipulative, and all. Like, so like you have all of this stuff. There's a lot happening.
But I'm doing this after watching Jared Ware and them break this series down. Like I know all of the real shit that you're not supposed to know about how bad it is, and I'm still watching.
Man. Whew. Zora, is there anything that you want us as folks to know?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe a whole episode on the ways in which we're captured, and we can all just let it out, just let it be out there.
I like that idea.
Yeah, just get a picture of me on the sofa watching Lioness as the thumbnail. That'll be it right there, Jared. This is it. No.
Yeah, and Renee, we need to catch up about Silo. Because I watch it too. So I'd love to hear your takes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll be sending you a note later.
Okay, well, shout out to Chinaza Uche, who's actually in my film and a good friend. He's on Silo, but I have never watched an episode of the show.
Well, the new season just started, so yeah.
And I only fuck with you when you're in my shit.
No, but shouts to Chinaza. Shouts to Chinaza, though. Great brother. Really great brother.
Cool. I'm trying to finish this paper. Got a few other things I'm trying to write. I'm working on a podcast with my homie Jabari. We're reading Laundry and Black Rage together and just sort of talking about the period of 2020 to now, our experiences, and again, like how those experiences can maybe serve some purpose of trying to wake others up to the truth of the art industry. But yeah, other than that, man, please read the paper on my Substack. If you have, thoughts, questions, like I'm for real, reach out, let me know, what I'm missing, where I'm wrong, what could improve, all that. But yeah, thanks y'all for having me on again. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Always. I always like for Jared to close out. So just a reminder that we're live next week. We're going to bring in my 50th
for
birthday.
Real, for real,
like
live.
For real. And bring in my 50th birthday, the 150th episode, which is seriously.
We planned it.
You could not have. There is no way that you could have like planned this actually happening this way. So the fact that it is happening this way means that it was just meant to be, as far as
meant to be, messing with my atheism. trying to
But I appreciate you, Zora, for coming. And Mtume, as always, love you. Like I so honestly, like this has been dope having you both on together. I just really recognize that you two have never actually like spoken to each other directly. So I'm always a fan of being like the reason that people end up in a room together. So this works well for me. But I appreciate y'all and hope to see folks next week. Don't forget, this is the last start time of 11 a.m. next week. After this, we go to a 10 a.m. start.
Yesterday's start time is not tomorrow's start time. All right, everybody. Big salute to our guests. Salute to the undefeated chat that I'm sure was out there championing it up. Please do all the things to support the platform. Patreon QR code right there. We will see you next week and for all successive weeks at 10 a.m. where we will be back with more episodes of the show. So peace only if you're willing to fight for it, as Fred Hampton used to say. And again, we will see you at 10 a.m. next week live with more
Saturday with Renee.
Black Liberation Media is a collective of Black and African organizers, journalists, academics, and media personalities serving Black and African masses seeking to further grow in their understanding of themselves, their histories, and the African world through entertainment and news. Please continue to like, subscribe, and donate to the channel so we can further serve you and liberate our people. You can also go to blkliberationmedia.org, get some merchandise, and also become a Patreon member and a member from the YouTube. Please do what you can, share, and show your love as we will show ours for you. Black